Everyone, welcome to today's Brown Bag. We have CJ Harris here today. She's here to talk about 10 things to keep in mind for your career transition. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to her.
All right. Hello, everyone. I can't tell, Bree, how many people do we have on the Zoom?
We have 21 people right now. And
21. Good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. I can't see all 21 of you, so I do apologize. Maybe I should put my glasses on. That would help. But what I'd like to do is first tell you a little bit about me and why it was probably good for me to come and share with you. And then I want to switch it up a little bit. I'm not a real big PowerPoint slide kind of person. I really want to be a resource to you guys, because how many times you get a chance to talk with a talent recruiter just hanging out in a Zoom room? You don't get that very often. So there may be some questions that you've been thinking about. For example, when I apply online, what happens to the resume? I get that question all the time. So if that has been something that has been on your mind, I'd love to address it. So write down your questions or share them in the chat as we go. And then we'll kind of tailor this meeting to a point that's best suited for you. How about that? Okay. And if we need a PowerPoint, we can pull it up. All right. So I'm ready either way it goes. I shared that with Bree earlier. So I'm Carlina C.J. Harris. I am the manager for talent acquisition and organizational development here at Luminex Corporation. Luminex is a biotechnology company that has been in existence for a little over 20 years. We're right here in Austin, Texas. It's beautiful today. It's hot as usual, so we're not complaining. But the thing that makes me a little unique to share with you is that I am not an HR person. I was not always in human resources. I have a bachelor's degree in information systems technology, and my focus was to become a network engineer, which I did after I graduated from college. Then I moved from working at Texas Department of Public Safety into working at IBM, and I worked there for almost 15 years. I think it was like 14.9, something like that. And I came in with a technical focus. I love technology. I mean, even to this day, I like the little gadgets. I may not own all of them, but when I go to Costco or Best Buy, I'm playing with all of them, trust me. And my career led into management, which I really enjoyed, leading teams of software engineers, IT specialists, architects. And as I moved more into management, my technical skills became like this. It was like this at first, and it came like that. And so I had to take a look at what was going to be next for me from a career perspective. So basically, I had to create a strategy. So before we go into talking about what my strategy was, let's all get on the same page of what strategy means, okay? So I'm going to share my screen real quickly, and I'm going to walk you through a couple of slides that I just want to make sure we're on the same page, because strategy means something different to everybody, and nobody really knows what it is. So it's important to understand what strategy is, and I have a definition, so we'll cheat. What strategy is and why do we need one when we're talking about making a career transition? Many of you who are already enrolled in a program, you already took the first step. You said, I'm interested in either becoming a web developer, or I'm interested in some type of different technology role. And so you're going back to school. Okay, there's more to just going to school, and we'll talk about it. But it should be part of your strategy. So strategy is a careful plan or method for achieving a particular goal, usually over a long period of time. The magic is long period of time. Many people want to do a career transition. They'll be like a medical doctor on Monday, and then on Wednesday they want to be a legal consultant. It usually doesn't happen that fast, okay? So you think about what you're passionate about, what you're good at, what you want to learn. Step number one is really assessing that. Assessing what you have already in your toolbox assessing what you'd like to learn, and then assessing what you're passionate about. If you're passionate about cooking, never been to a cooking class, it may be a good thing to do, and find out the fundamentals, starting from the beginning, the bottom of the beginning of what your passion is. So step one is doing an assessment on you, just figuring out what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and what you know you can do, okay? So that's part of the creating the strategy, is figuring out what you want to do and completing that assessment. All right, so I wonder how many of you remember The Karate Kid. Well, the thing that I loved about that movie, I don't care if it's the original version or the version with Jaden Smith, the master in that movie had a strategy. And if you remember, the student didn't know what the strategy was. The student got real frustrated with waxing cars and putting the jacket on, taking the jacket off. And he was like, where is this going? What are we doing? Okay. But the master had a strategy. He was giving him exercises or tasks to do to work on certain moves. It was a win-win for both of them, because in the first one, the master got his car waxed, his house painted. He got some things done, all right? And the student got a chance to really learn the techniques without really knowing he was learning the techniques. So your strategy, it should be a win for you, okay? And if you don't know a whole lot about strategy, don't worry about it. There are so many books on it. I shared a couple of them that I like, but strategists in many ways are professional opportunists. They look at the best opportunity, create a plan to take advantage of it, and then they plan and direct resources to make the biggest impact possible. That's really it. The word sounds very, sometimes a little scary for most, because they've been fortunate to just set goals and then work on those goals. My focus in helping everybody that I mentor and I come across is to help you identify what your vision is, your goals, and then create a strategy to implement those things. Because the reason why I say this, history has shown us the average person, not American, not European, just the average person will more than likely change their career at least 3 to 4 times in their life. Now, with the way things are going today, my guess is by 2020, we'll see that number grow from 4 to 6. It's just because we have an interest in a lot of different things, and we see technology evolving. We see how we live changing. Just the way you order food today is changing. I didn't have Uber Eats when I was in high school. My kids, when my son is a senior in high school, my daughter's in college, they're like, Mom, we got dinner. And they just call Uber Eats. I'm like, who does that? I'm thinking they're going to go in the kitchen and cook something. But anyway, it's a totally different world. So Uber Eats for them today, but what will my grandkids have, right? So I do believe that over a period of time, many, many people will have more than one career over their lifetime. So the first thing in the strategy is assess you, right? The second thing, if you don't know what strategy is, learn what it is. You don't have to read a book cover to cover. You can Google, you can do quite a bit. But you need to understand, what does a good strategy look like? Okay, easy. Here's the cheat sheet. I'm giving it to you. Understand, define the problem. The issue is, I'm ready to do a career move. I want to do a career change. Articulate the factors affecting the problem. That's where the assessment comes in. What do I like to do? What am I good at? What am I passionate about, right? Then the other part, after you've assessed you got to look at the gap. If you're wanting to move from being a medical doctor to a legal consultant, will you need to go back to school? Will you need to go do an internship? Will you need to go sit for the bar? All those questions start coming up. And so you look at those factors to see, do I have time to go back to law school? Do I have time to invest in this? Do I have the money to be able to do that type of career transition? If I don't have it, how am I going to find it? So when you get all the factors into play, then you can start making a judgment to which factor to tackle first. Okay, so assess yourself, probably the quickest and easiest thing to do. Then looking at the gap, of where you are to where you want to be, what's missing in between, and then deciding how we're going to tackle those things that come up, those factors that come up. The other thing is you want to develop a clear set of plans and actions to get you action ready for the opportunity. So what does that mean, CJ? What are you talking about? Well, a lot of times people set goals and they say, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to move into technology. That's great that you have goals, but they have to be preparing you to go into action. That's the only way it's going to become a reality. Many of you have decided to go back to school. You're in action. You're in that mode. So then at the end, you want to clearly be able to measure success. Did I make it over into this career? How long did it take me? Was I on my timeline? All those types of things can help you understand, was your strategy a good one for you in this area? Okay, so this is the part where I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I want to tell you my strategy. So one of the things that I did, I shared with you, my background is technical, and I got into management. And one of the things IBM required all managers to do was to recruit for your team. All right. I didn't know what that meant. So I teamed up with an HR business partner. She gave me all the skills I needed. And she said, you're going to do 2 trips, one to a university, the second one to a professional association. So when I got there, kind of like a fish in a whole new pond, had no idea what to do. People were just coming up to me and asking me about jobs and asking me about the company. And I was scared as I don't know what at first. After about the 5th person, I started rolling. I had my little spill down. I knew what to say. I knew how to tell them to apply. I got real comfortable. By the 15th person, I felt like Oprah. You should have gave me a microphone. I could have talked to everybody in the whole room. And so the feedback from our HR team was that she's really good at recruiting. We ought to have her on the trips more often. Well, my peers who also had the requirement of recruiting for their team when they had a team member to leave or the team was growing, they hated it. They were like, well, how about this? Why don't you go for me and I'll do something else for you? So I ended up going on 10 trips a year. And I got really good at it. And I said, I want to go into HR. I would love to work in talent acquisition. I love bringing people to the company, connecting them with positions that are great for their careers. And so I went and talked to someone in HR and I said, I think I want to do this full time. This is amazing. I love it, the travel, blah, 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 blah. And they said, well, do you have an HR degree? I said, HR degree? What are you talking about? Like undergrad? Yes. Do you have an HR undergrad degree? And I said, I do not. I have an undergrad in information systems technology. Okay, that's the gap, right? So I took time to listen to the feedback, and they basically told me I wasn't going to be able to get a position at IBM and HR at that time because I didn't have a degree and I didn't have any certifications. And so that's where I learned the gap. I didn't realize that's what it was, but that's what it was. And so I talked to more than one HR person. They told me the same thing. So I decided to look at my education and my experience and figure out, did I want to go back to school for 4 years to get an undergrad in HR? I just couldn't stomach it. I mean, I had 2 kids at the house, a dog, a husband. It was no way in the world I could do it. I had just completed my master's degree in organizational leadership. And so what I ended up doing, I said, I really, really like this. I'm going to have to break camp and go back and see if I can get a certification. My manager shared with me they wouldn't be able to pay for it because our group was a technical group. It wasn't an HR group. So I said, look, the next opportunity that your team needs to look at a layoff, put my name on the list. He was like, are you serious? I was like, I am serious. Okay. Now you may say, why would you want to get laid off? All right, let me tell you 2 main things. Remember, I said I was in management, right? Well, I knew what the package would be, and I knew how much money they were going to be contributing to re-educating an employee. So I had already did my homework on the gap. I found out how much it was going to cost for me to go get my certification. It was under what IBM was offering in the layoff package. So I asked my manager, and he said, before we do that, can you please just go apply for a couple of positions? If you do not get those positions, then we'll reconsider and see what we can do. I didn't get the positions. I took the layoff package. It was the most wonderful thing ever happened to me. I went back to school, got my certification, and then guess what? Nobody still wanted to hire me because I didn't have the HR degree. So assess yourself, understand the gap, and then go get what's needed in between. That's the third one, right? Okay, here's the fourth one. When you still cannot go get hired, go volunteer. Go give of yourself, of your time. Here's the value in that. Yeah, you're not going to make a lot of money. You may not make any money. But the value in that is you get experience. And what I learned in this business, experience is key, okay? So was I poor for a little while? Yeah, I was, but I was doing the thing I love to do. I was so excited and I can't tell you how good it felt to get up in the morning and know that I was going to be going to a career fair and connecting people. Well, let me tell you a secret in my journey, and thank you, April. In my journey, I happened to meet a CEO for a startup company who was looking for a director of talent management or director of talent acquisition for his company, but he couldn't pay a lot. And so he happened to see me at, the fourth thing. Okay, assess yourself, know the gap, go get educated, get your resources together to help you fill the gap. The fourth thing is go get associated with the people who are doing what you want to do. So I joined a Austin HR association. I can't remember the name at the time. But in that meeting, they had an opportunity to allow you to pitch yourself, okay? And so I had just decided I was going to pitch myself, talk about my little career journey. And he loved the way I presented. So he came up to me during the break and he said, "Hey, you used to work at IBM?" I said, "Yes, I did. I worked there for 15 years and now I'm moving into this HR thing." And he said, "I need some HR help. Would you be open to working with me and my company?" And I said, "I'd be more than happy to do it." Okay, we didn't even talk money, right? So I went and met with him at his office and he told me he needed 6 sales engineers. And he said, "Tell me, how would you go about doing that?" So I gave him what I learned from studying and my certification, what I've talked to some of my mentors, and what I Googled. And he liked the plan, and we moved forward with the plan. And I was able to get the 6 sales engineers, and I got compensated. And by the way, he used to always pay for lunch. Every time we met, he paid for lunch. So I ate well, and I got paid. Okay. Then he referred me to a associate of his, and I did the same thing for that person. Okay, so that's the fourth thing of networking, teaming up with people who do what you like to do, or teaming up with people who need your services. I formed a business and didn't even have the intent to form a business. My goal was just to get certified and start working in HR on a full-time basis. That was my goal. But as I look back, my strategy was formulating, and I didn't have any idea that it was doing it at the time. So anyway, that's number 4. And so number 5, always be ready for any opportunity. I worked with his colleague, allowed time, I think it was about maybe 6 to 8 months, and recruited for him. And then I started building my resume. Okay, this is going to be key. If you remember anything I say today, it's the building of your resume. All right. So keep in mind, I hadn't had a job in HR. I just had a certification. All of my experience was still basically technical from a software development perspective. So now I had these 2 opportunities, and I had done some volunteer work with the organization here in Austin. I could create an HR-centric resume. All right. So how do you do that, CJ, if you've never worked in HR? You go out to LinkedIn, Indeed, and you look up positions that you would like to have. I am so big on don't reinvent the wheel. Go do your homework and then formulate from what you learn, create your marketing or your branding package so that way you can not only sell yourself, but you know what things to go do to get the experience. Okay. So what was the thing I said? Make sure you're ready for your opportunities and do your homework. Okay. Number 6 is once you've done the research, you start formulating and building your resume, because you started that with the opportunities that you've gained, but the research is going to help you use the right terminology. It's great to be a wonderful web developer, but if you can't communicate and use the terminology that's being used in the organization, they're not going to take you serious. They're not going to be able to connect the dots that you're really good at what you do, right? Okay, so do your research is number 6. After you have a resume, you use your ability to get job descriptions and do your research on what does a web developer do in biotech industry? What do they do in, let's say, marketing type of industry or legal industry? Now you have an understanding of what keywords will be used in that market and the industry. Number 7, I always tell people to do this first, but a lot of times we do not. Okay. Find out what the salary range is for the new career you'd like to start doing. Okay. So why is that key? It's very key because the salary range is going to be a little different depending on what geography, what area you're in, what country you're going to be living in. Now, I love the fact that students can look at this being a truly global market, and they can go work anywhere in the world. If a company is interested in you and they want to have you work in France, they'll take care of the immigration and all that kind of stuff. They'll take care of that part to get you to work there. Or with our new virtual environment, you may work right in your house and still work for a company in France and never move. So the thing is, you want to know the range, because that's going to help you understand, is this career transition really worth it for me? Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you a secret. This is a CJism, and I know we're getting recorded, but this is for the other students. You need to know this. I took a $40,000 pay cut to do what I love to do every day. Yeah, I said it, 40,000, 40,000 pay cut. Okay. Now, you can say, wow, that's a big drop. How did you do it? Okay. Well, I'm telling you number 7, but that probably was number 2 for me at the time. I had went and did my homework and understood what drop I was going to have to take. So before I left IBM, I paid off my credit cards, I refinanced my house, I made it affordable before the pay drop. Okay. Everybody don't get that opportunity, but I'm an engineer, so I'm always think processes, and I think like that. So I thought first, let me take care of my household before I drop down to 40 grand less, right? So that's number 7. Know the salary range and know if it's something that is going to be worth it for you. The 8th thing I would like to tell you is, as you're doing your career transition from one job to the next, understand that job may not be the best job or the job you want to have for the rest of your life. It should be a stepping stone. So as you transfer from one role to the next, this role should be helping you get your B job. Okay. So number 8 is career progression or career movement, career development. You own that. Don't ever go to any organization and think that a manager is going to own that for you. It's not going to happen. It's your job. So when you're transitioning into this role, you start kind of doing your own personal project management and say, okay, the goal is to be in this role for 2 to 3 years. These are the things I want to learn. These are the things I would like to accomplish. So after I completed my journey with the 2 startup companies, I went and worked for National Instruments here in Austin as the manager, talent acquisition manager for recruiting operations. I accepted that role, and I had 3 key things I wanted to accomplish. Okay. And we can talk offline about that, because I'm looking at the time. I don't want to go too depth in that because we got 2 more things to talk about. But I had 3 key things I wanted to accomplish, and I accomplished them. And in that particular role, it's going to help me for that B job that I have my eye on. The role I'm in now is helping me grow, not only from talent acquisition standpoint, but also organizational development. I personally think the two go like this. It doesn't necessarily have to be under the same manager, but this opportunity is allowing me to grow and develop that philosophy, the journey here for Luminex. And it's just a wonderful thing for me personally, helping me get to that next opportunity, right? Okay, so 8 is career progression, career movement. You need to see it before you make the career transition. And that should be part of your strategy, part of the research that you do. Because you're not saying, hey, I'm just going to leave being a teacher and become a web developer. You got to say, I want to be a web developer, but I also want to move in the area of maybe energy, legal, medical. Have some thought about where is that going to take you, your career roadmap. Okay? All right. So we talked about assessing you, the gaps, the opportunities, the education resources. Number 9 is not only meeting people that are doing what you want to do, but it should be getting board of directors. You're going to hear some people say mentors. I say board of directors. And the reason being is because each one of those individuals should be contributing to something to help you with this career transition. Y'all not just having coffee for nothing. I mean, they may be cool people, great, wonderful, but there should be something that you really need from them, and they are able to supply it, help you. It could be, introducing you to the hiring manager who hires web developers or who hire software developers. It could be the director of a nonprofit organization that needs a new website done. You may be able to contribute to that project. Something to help you with your career transition. Okay, so that's number 9, your board of directors. And then the last thing is the 10 in the career transition is that if you're going through this process and you absolutely cannot find a job whatsoever, I shared earlier, volunteer your services, but the other thing I'd like to really stress is don't be afraid of contract work. It's experience. Anything that could help you get some experience is going to look fabulous on your resume. I like to tell people, if they can, formulate a consulting service if you know you're going to go in contracting for a while. Then that way it looks as if you've owned the consulting business for a longer period of time than your contracts. Okay? And I did the same thing. I didn't realize how important that was, but I had a consulting business for 18 months, and I had multiple contracts under that business name. But when you look at my resume, you can see 18 months, I totally focused on my consulting business. Instead of listing every contract that you've done, because now it looks as if you don't stay at an employer for a very long time, even if you tell them it's contract work. It's going to come into the ATS just the way it's going to come in without your whole story. So if you formulate a consulting business and you have multiple contracts under it, you get experience, and then you also look as if you have stayed at a particular employer or you did a certain business for a certain amount of time. So those are the 10 things, and I am open for questions. It's 3:04, and I'd love to hear what things you would like some in-depth info or information on to help you with your career transition. And just take your time. I'm just going to take a little sip of water, if that's okay, Bree. I am thirsty. Okay, we have a question. What is your best advice for overcoming imposter syndrome? Don't have it. Who has imposter syndrome? No, I'm just joking. I think my best advice for overcoming imposter syndrome is to Focus on those things that you know and be clear on what you don't know. And just be honest, be genuine. As a manager, I love when my team can feel comfortable coming to me and saying, I'm looking at applying for this marketing role, but I don't have a marketing degree, and I'm afraid to go over there and not know everything. And my thing is, it's okay not to know everything. Focus on what you do know. Share why you think you're a good candidate for this role. You get an opportunity. Don't come in acting as if you know more than what you should, or you know just as much as everybody else. I think every manager appreciates someone coming clean and saying, here are my strengths and here are my weaknesses. And then we can work together on how we can best move forward with our business goals and then your own personal career goals. So I hope that answered your question. April says, for older people, I'm sorry, I probably wasn't supposed to say April name. I apologize. For older people just starting out, what your advice and how did you build your confidence? Oh, two questions. Okay. I'm older or more mature. I don't look it, but I am. And I think that a couple of tips I would say, and this is something I tend to see when people apply for positions at Illuminex. Don't put every job you have on your resume when you're applying for a corporate role. I say corporate because state government, federal government, they usually want you to put everything down. I mean, every position you've ever had. But in corporate America, most corporations, they want to see the positions that are going to help a recruiter like myself determine if you're a good potential candidate. Okay, so let's just say in the last 5 years you've had only 2 jobs. That's fine. Put those 2 jobs because they're going to support that role, that position. Okay, and you highlight within the content of those roles how they support you being a good candidate for the job you're applying for. And then anything else you can add like a little small summary. But I tell people all the time, don't put positions that you've had over 20 years ago on your resume. A couple of things happen. They can tell how old you are when you do that. For your education, you don't have to put a year when you graduated. You could just put the college, the major, and the degree that you obtained. So little tricks like that, I think, can help people at any age. It doesn't matter, but at any age, kind of, get back into the market. How to build your confidence? Do what you love to do. If talking to people isn't something that you like to do, don't do that. Work behind the scenes, but get involved. That's the key I want you to walk away with is get involved, and that helps build your confidence in the craft that you want to do. Like, for example, I volunteered when we did the recruiting. Remember I shared with you at IBM, you had to do 2 trips a year, and my peers couldn't stand it, right? And I wasn't an expert at it, okay? Please, by no means. I was no expert at it. But what it did when I volunteered, it allowed me to get really good at it. And I just kept practicing. I messed up a whole bunch of times. I said something non-HR a couple of times. And, I just asked for forgiveness and keep it moving. But that is what will help build your confidence. So if you're thinking about moving into a certain career area and you don't have any experience, volunteer. Just get your feet wet and get involved. Okay, let me go to the next question because y'all starting to bring them. I love it. Love it. Okay, what kind of things did you say no to during your career transition to stay focused on your strategy? All right. Oh, that's a good question because I don't remember. Let's see. I think, I know. I said no to going back to what I used to do because it was getting frustrating. And I did tell you I was laid off, right? So I was living off of my severance package. And it got kind of tight. And I thought, I can always go back and be a software development manager and make, 6 figures. And I had to say no to that because I knew what that life was going to be like. I knew all the hours. I knew the scheduling. I can do it. and I can do it pretty well. I just didn't have the passion for it anymore. So I would say I had to say no to that. And then I had to say no to roles outside of technology. Because as I started early in our conversation, I love technology. So I try to stay around it as much as I possibly can. And when I was applying for positions, they had openings in HR, talent acquisition, organizational development, and education, state. There were positions in energy, positions in legal. I didn't want to apply for those. I mean, I could have got the experience, but I thought as I did my assessment, one of my strengths was that I used to be an engineer. I used to be a network engineer. I used to be an IT specialist. So if I could stay in that area and recruit that type of talent, then I would be Wonder Woman to a corporation. I mean, I'd be, incredibly valuable to a company because I can still relate with a certain type of individuals who apply for those positions. And I'm very outgoing in the area of talent acquisition. So that's the two things I could think of. I hope that answers your question. Can you think of a time someone communicated that there was something they didn't know in a positive way? Okay, let me think about that for a second. Can you think of a time someone communicated that there was something they didn't know in a positive way? That is an excellent question. I can't think of a time where they said they didn't know. I take that back. I did have a team member who I wanted to do some modeling on for some software cases, and they didn't know how to do it. Okay, but let me give you some history. They were my intern. I think initially I hired the person as my intern, and then I hired them full time. So they were entry-level software engineer, and I just assumed that they taught how to do that with the software case, and I was wrong. Okay, but they didn't want to tell me no. They didn't want to tell me they weren't going to be able to do it, so they kept delaying and delaying it. And so I think it was like after 2 weeks, I said, "When are you going to have the cases done?" And they finally just said, "CJ, can I come and talk to you in your office?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So he came in my office and he said, "How do you do that? I don't know how to do it." And I said, "Has that been the reason why you've been delaying it?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "I didn't want to let you down. I didn't want to look as if I wasn't a solid contributor." And he just was just open and honest with me. And so from there, I thought that was pretty positive. I mean, finally just coming out and saying he didn't know. And so I said, "Well, look, you're part of my team. Don't ever, ever, ever wait that long to tell me you don't know something, because I can send you to a class. I can send you to training. IBM has tons of training. I can send you. I just assume you knew it because you're fresh out of college, and I just thought they taught that in your curriculum, and that you should have came and said something to me so that way I wasn't walking around with that assumption." So I hope that answered your question, but that's one way I could think about how he did finally communicate to me. He didn't know how to do it, and we had a positive conversation from it and led to him going to training class. Any strategy advice on finding a job in another city? Oh, yes, I can tell you. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. I was born in Lafayette, Louisiana, grew up in Houston, and I got a job in Austin right after college. And the thing I will tell you with social media right now, oh my goodness, connect with people in LinkedIn who are in the city you're interested in moving to. And especially HR people, recruiters, because usually they are really good with sources of, go look at these websites so that you can find out how to move or what you need to do to change your vehicle registration. They usually know all of that kind of stuff. They know what areas to go and look for living spaces, or they know realtors most of the time recruiters are well connected. That's basically what I'm saying. They know somebody. They're connectors. And if you're thinking about moving to another city, the first thing I would do is take a look at you, okay? Do your assessment. What do you like? If you're like myself, I love being outdoors. I probably couldn't move somewhere where it's cold all the time. It's just not going to work for me. I can go visit, but I can't live there. So know something about yourself. And then once you've identified at least, your 3 top cities, start researching quality of life, research salaries for the positions that you're looking at. So that way you have an understanding, because you're always going to get paid a lot more on the East Coast, but why? The cost of living is a lot more on the East Coast, right? So you just kind of need to have that knowledge before you pack up everything and move. So, and then connect with people. All right. I've heard competing opinions. Would you suggest to include minor minimum wage work if someone is transitioning from a large gap to a new career? Okay. Let's see. If I'm going to assume, and you correct me if I'm wrong on this, but you said that you've heard competing opinions whether you should include minor minimum age work if someone is transitioning from a large gap to a new career. Okay, here's my takeaway. If the minimum wage work, what you did, the tasks, the assignments, can support you being a good potential candidate for this new job, I say go ahead and put it in there. Okay, so like, great, I'm glad you gave that to me. Okay, so like, let's say retail. Okay, if in retail, okay, I'm gonna pick one. I hope I'm on track with this one. Let's say you work at Target. Okay, there are gonna be some key skills that you have to have at Target: customer service, being able to handle conflicting schedules, maybe if whether you lead the team or you're just part of the team. And then another thing is product knowledge. Okay, so let's say you're transitioning into a web developer role for a worldwide global marketing team, and it's an entry level role. Look at the job description and then look at what you've done at Target and see if these 3 things I just mentioned can be something that can be transferable. Because what you're really looking for is not the role, it's the transferable skills to this other position. So if you're working at McDonald's or you're working in a bank, it doesn't matter. The role isn't what's the most important. It's when you look at that job description and you see what the requirements are, what skills can you transfer from this role to this job? And you got to write a good story. That's why a lot of times people can do wonderful in the interview and they're not as strong in writing the resume. Here's another secret I'll tell you. This would be tip number 11. Don't reinvent the wheel. Google different resume templates and let that be some food for you to think about how you want to write your resume. Because the hardest thing is getting a blank sheet of paper and trying to write a resume. That's painful for me. I don't even like it. And I'm in talent acquisition. I can't stand it. So one of the things I like to do is take a look at what's available on the internet and get ideas. And then you go, oh yeah, I did that. Oh yeah, when I was at Target, I did this too. I even did security. You forget some of the things that you did all the time. And then that can help build your story. But it starts with the job description, the job that you're trying to apply for. What are they looking for? And what skills can you transfer to that opportunity? All right, I hope I answered that question. I hope that helped. All right, we're almost at the end. We have still have time, Bree, for some more questions. I'm ready. They got me started. Okay, so what is different about working with a small business and its HR personnel and a large corporation and its HR? Size. That's really what I think it is. Size. It tends to be a little bit more narrow with a smaller company. Here at Luminex, we probably have about maybe 10 No, less than 10 people in our human resources organization. When I was at National Instruments, a company of about 7,500 employees, we probably had more than 20, but it was global, worldwide. So the only difference, in the working is just that um, the size, and you tend to wear more hats when you're in a smaller company. For example, I oversee talent acquisition and organizational development. So many of my peers, they have more than one type of responsibility. Okay. All right. So if you're interviewing someone for a position, what can someone do to help make it an easy yes? You need to know the job description. Do not apply for something that you're so way off. You know the job description, you know the company, and then you can tell me, number three, you can tell me what can you bring to the table to help the company reach its goals. A lot of times that's going to blow somebody's socks off. They're going to like, wow, you really went and did your research, because you're able to learn about the company, the position that you're applying for, you connect it, and then you bring forth what you can bring to that position and to the company to help them reach their goals. I think that is really key. So if you're interviewing someone for a position, any suggestion on how to match what you can do to what you can do for the company? All right. Okay, so match what you can do. All right. Here's another secret. It's not what you can do, it's what you can prove that you've done. Okay. So if you tell me I can be the best salesperson, but you've never worked with any medical devices or never worked in life sciences before, I'm telling you, I'm gonna lean towards the person who has demonstrated that they can work in medical science. That's why I said earlier, if you don't have any experience in your career transition, go volunteer, get the experience, go work contract. Do what it takes to get the experience, and then that adds value to your whole career transition. And then the last thing, don't be afraid to not make the kind of money you used to make. I mean, I shared with you guys, and I'm very candid about that. I mean, I took a $40,000 pay cut just to go do something that I love to do. Now, am I ever gonna see that money back? I have no idea, but I love what I do. Every time I get up in the morning, I'm excited. So it's a win-win. You have only one life, so you gotta pick and choose how you want to do it. I hope that answered the question too. All right, that was good. I feel like I need another sip of water, Bree. I'm thinking to myself, everybody's gonna see this on a video, and I'm with a straw and a Whataburger cup. But we gotta do what you gotta do. So, okay. Do you do mentoring? Heck yes, I love it. By the way, anyone who attends any of these sessions, I hope Bree will have me back. She and I have talked about a couple of other ideas that may be helpful to everybody on the call and those who will listen to the recording. But yes, I do mentoring when I can, and I'm a big believer of LinkedIn because there's so many reasons why, but that may be another class we do, another session. But if you're not on LinkedIn, I highly recommend you get on it and make that your professional networking platform. And there are others, but LinkedIn is right now very, very popular. So you're welcome to reach out to me. All right. Now you want Whataburger. I know it was good too, by the way. Networking with board of directors is ideal, but is it always possible? It is possible if you make it possible. Okay, it's all on you. And you don't have to have 10 people on the board. It could be 3, but it's possible. It truly is. When you are able to participate in sessions like this and you have guest speakers, they may be very happy to be a part of your board if they can bring something of value to what you're trying to accomplish. Let's say that. You talked about volunteering. Do you have any resources that you could give Bree? Yeah, I do. I will look in my little stash. That's a great question. I always tell people, start where your heart is. I used to be a team captain for the American Diabetes Association. I was a cyclist. Well, I am a cyclist, but I was a team captain on it, and I met a lot of people. Now, it had nothing to do with helping me become a recruiter, but it was really fun, and I loved doing it, and it helped me recruit team members for my cycle team. All right. It's harder to volunteer than one may think. Yeah, it is. It's not easy. So that's why I always say go with your heart, because when you do what you love and what you're passionate about, it won't feel like work. I promise. All right, cover letters. How long should minimum be? One paragraph? I'm gonna tell you that's a good question, because some companies don't look at cover letters at all. And I don't want to say don't do one, but make it informative, brief. Don't hesitate to use bullets, but you want it to be eye-catching and you want it to be informative. I would highly, highly, highly recommend don't write no two-page cover letter. No recruiter is going to read that. But I think that it depends on the job, and that's why it's hard for me to say if there should be a minimum of one paragraph. It really depends on the job, the candidate, and how you are presenting with the things that you want to present in that letter. Again, go Google, look, read other people's cover letters, get ideas. Don't start from a blank sheet of paper. All right, we got 4 minutes. Do I need to say anything else, Bree?
Well, we're definitely going to have you back, because you got a lot to share.
I do.
We need more time to pick your brain.
Yes, and that's really what I want to make sure we create a platform for you guys, because I feel like, you know, I'm an insider that can really help people as they're transitioning or as they're looking for other positions, just to kind of get your a good foundation, really. It's just a foundational thing. And whatever I share, you can grow from there. And I can grow too, because these questions are really good. I mean, wasn't even thinking about some of this stuff. So it's a win-win for us both. It's a win-win for us both. So I really appreciate you inviting me to come and talk to everybody.
Yeah, we will definitely have to connect, and we'll blow through the rest of your list of topics that you had in your email, because I know the students are like totally eating this up. So
oh yeah, and I would be happy to summarize the 10 points, so that way you can share it with everybody too.
Yes, that would be great, and I'll make sure to include that in the description box on the YouTube video as well. So awesome. Well, thanks everybody for coming today, and a special thanks to CJ. This was incredible. This was so much fun. And I bet all the students who are nearing the end of their time at Lambda are just like soaking this all in and loving it. So, you know what, everybody have a good rest of your day, and we're going to go ahead and close this out. So, bye everyone.
Bye. See you later.